Hey, everybody. Thanks for coming in. Let's hope that everybody's extra sad tonight. Hey, welcome to Sad Times. I want to kind of explain the show to you if you haven't been here before. Basically, I bring a guest on every week, which I'll be introducing here in a moment. And I talk with the guest about what he or she is like when he or she is sad. What is she like when... how does she deal with sadness? How does she deal when other people are sad? Maybe her family, maybe people who she's close to, things of that nature. Because I think it's really important to have a dialogue, at least a little bit, about how we are when we are sad or anxious or upset. Because everybody goes through it. I don't care who you are, all the time. And I think if we were just a little more aware of what people go through, we could be a little more empathetic, I think. That's my hope, at least, and be a little more aware that, hey, maybe that person has their own struggle, just as I have my struggle, and maybe I'm not going to be quick to judgment. So that's kind of what we're doing today. Speaking of, I'm starting in here with my dear friend Lauren. Lauren is here. Hi, Lauren.
Hi, Kevin.
How are you? Are you okay?
Yeah. I'm okay. I'm okay. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here. Well, you're sad.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
I wouldn't lead with sadness, though I lead into it.
What does that mean?
I am somebody who likes to be sad at times.
Like times you can control?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I might want to go home after a stressful day or even a non-stressful day and listen to some of my favorite sad music and open up a bottle of wine and just contemplate.
Red or white?
Red.
Always red, right?
Always red.
Well, so
not in the summer.
Not in the. You like a white in the summer?
Oh yeah, because it's hot.
It gets hot in Chicago. I'm
Yes.
waiting on that shit.
Well, yeah. Well, that makes me sad.
Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah,
the beautiful weather that we had
sad.
on Monday and Tuesday, and I was hailed on.
Yeah,
yesterday.
Me too. I was just going to get my New Orleans kitchen food, and I was hailed on. That made me sad. So I have to ask you.
Yes.
You said you lean into sadness.
I
Does
do.
that just mean go home, have some wine, listen to some sad music, or is there other ways that you do that?
That's usually my go-to. If I am sad, I will find ways to just embrace it, because I know that sadness is like a natural emotion. It's my body telling me something.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So I don't want to rush it, and it's an opportunity to check in with myself. And I think oftentimes we try to rush through to results.
Yes.
And so if I'm sad for something, or because of something, I want to allow myself to be sad.
So do you try to, by playing that music or drinking that depressant, that wine, do you think that you're trying to elongate it or trying to enhance it?
I think I want to enhance it.
Okay.
So my brother and I talk about this a lot. So I have a couple of siblings, and we talk about this thing of finding yourself in a music video. Right? In a music video, emotions tend to feel really epic and really important. I don't know the last time I've ever thought of Hoover. Do you remember Hoover?
Oh yeah. What is the song? The Purpose or the?
Yeah, it's some. I could try to sing, but that song feels so epic, and I think that's the one where they're going back in time and and you watch these music videos and things feel really heavy, things feel really important, and oftentimes I don't have those things. My brother and I are oh yeah, it's like finding yourself in a music video. Yeah. Or he and I were once going through parallel breakups, and we would listen to a lot of country music, and we'd send each other text messages because country music's
country music's sad.
So
as fuck.
sad. And what we would do is we would send each other text messages of this song followed by this song followed by this song came on Pandora today, and I just don't know what to do.
It's like a cultivated list, right?
Yes.
It's like you go to dinner and you say, "Oh, this wine pairs well with this."
Yeah.
Oh, you're going through a breakup. These songs pair well with that.
Yes.
Right. So,
or there's this song right now. I've been listening to a lot of pop music because we were talking about the gym. Do you listen to Carly Rae Jepsen? She's
I know the Call Me Maybe song.
Yeah. She has this song called Your Type, and it's all about I'm not the type of girl for you. I'm in a happy, healthy relationship, and yet that is the song that I will at work if I'm by myself is my go-to. for no, like, it's not because I like the beat. There's something about like unrequited love that is just naturally calling towards me.
So, yeah, and you and I have talked about this before, too, because that's definitely been some of my saddest times where I really, as you say, lean into it, especially if I'm like, oh, God, I have such feelings for this person, and they don't know I exist. There's something to embrace there, and it's, you kind of, it can be a little scary because you can go a little bit too far with it, right? At least I have. And then you just get real depressed, and when I get depressed, I'm a tough person to be around. It makes me anxious. I tend to get angrier quicker because I feel like I don't have control of things.
Yeah.
So with unrequited love, if you, let's say you had a crush on someone, what would you do? Would you go home, put on the sad music, and did people notice that you were sad because of that?
Well, there's a difference from leaning into sadness and performative sadness. So, and it took years of therapy for me to understand this. So being a queer person, having crushes on other women in high school or in college, unrequited love was something that always felt so familiar.
Yeah.
And
may I ask, were you out in high school?
I was not out in high school,
Okay.
but I did have a secret girlfriend. I think I was covering it up pretty well.
Yeah, I don't think your family...
my family knew. My family knew.
Okay, your family.
My family knew, but I was not out to my peers, even though I was captain of the golf team, and I was in softball and all of those
You were the captain of the golf team.
You're damn right I was.
There's a reason to be sad.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm more sad because of my par. I'm terrible now.
Oh, this is timely.
Yeah.
Okay, so you had crushes on girls.
Yeah, and you know, I used to be like a safe person to flirt with. And so in college, it often felt like, you know, friends would flirt with me and like, oh, Lou, if I was, I would absolutely choose you, absolutely choose you, absolutely choose you.
The friend zone.
The friend zone, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with being in the friend zone. That like we have to teach people that like if you are lucky enough to be somebody's friend, that's a great place to be.
It's true.
So we shouldn't take that for granted, and the end goal shouldn't be always romance.
But isn't it a bit cloying when, yes, I am blessed to have a lot of friends, as are you, but if you want to be with that person, and they're like, oh, you're like my brother, or you're like my sister.
Well, certainly, does it suck?
Yeah, it sucks.
But we have to stop treating it like a consolation prize.
That's a very good point. Yeah, that's well said.
Yeah. But what I would do in college is I used to lash out. I would be so angry if somebody who would flirt with me at a party or, you know, they'd want to kiss at this thing. And then 2 weeks later, they're no longer interested because they were undoubtedly straight, as most of the women on Purdue's campus were. I would be so angry, and I used to have what I called angry thumbs.
Angry thumbs? What does that mean?
I would send hurtful, hateful text messages, and that's largely
to the people.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and I thought that, well, you know, if you're going to hurt me and you're going to make me feel sad, well, the only way for me to cope with this is to make you feel sad, and to hurt you.
Were you that explicit about it, or was it something totally different? Right.
What do you mean?
So would you say you more like you hurt my feelings now? I think you're fat, or whatever it is. Would you say, or would you just say something totally unrelated, and they'd be like, "Where's this coming from?"
No, it would largely be rooted in like you are taking advantage of me, but not in so kind words.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
And I think a lot of that it stems from healthy conflict resolution. Not being out in high school meant that my first big breakup was done in secret. And
how old were you?
I was 16.
16, and how long had you been with the person?
Well, I was actually 17 when we broke up. Almost a year. But when my high school girlfriend's mom found out, she transferred her to a different school. And
just because she had been dating a woman?
Yeah.
She thought that would solve it?
Yes. But apparently it did, because she too is straight.
Oh, she's straight? Oh.
I have a long line of... Not a long line of straight women, but there are straight women in my past.
But
what is sexuality? Is that what we're going to talk about?
No, sexuality to me is sadness, man. Right there. No. Thank you. For when you had that breakup, did you initiate it? Did she?
She initiated it, and that's largely. I mean, so we were, secret girlfriends. I guess not secret enough because her mom did find out.
Yeah.
When her mom found out, she would follow me to school.
The mom would follow
she would wait in the school parking lot, and I'd pull in, and she would circle my car a couple of times, and she would follow me into the school. It's amazing that I'm okay with the sound of heels clicking because I could hear them down the hallway. And it wasn't until and my mom very much intervened. So my mom once saw her at the Strachan Van Til, which is our family grocery store. And my mom followed her mom for miles. And because my mom was like, if you ever follow my daughter to school again.
Yeah.
Like, not only will there be like a restraining order, but my mom has a fiery temper. And, she's kind of like, you don't get too close to goslings. Right?
Yeah.
Because the Mama Goose.
And you're the second oldest?
I am. I have an older sister who's 11 years older than me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
when that happened, that was mourning a loss at first when my high school girlfriend was taken to another school.
Did you guys still
we kept in touch? I mean, because it's not like she moved her to another state. She moved her to a fancier school than the one that I attended.
Town.
In the same area.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you feel when the mom was doing that creepy motherfucking thing where she was following you around, did you feel a guilt? Did you feel like there's something wrong with me? Why are you singling me out? Did I do something wrong?
Oh, no. I know why she was singling me out. She was singling me out because I was having sex with her daughter. And she was pissed.
There you go. Yeah.
And she found out. And that was something that I can think of a couple of moms that would have been very upset with that. But the thing is, she liked me so much up until
the mom liked
up until she caught me and Natalie tickling each other.
Tickling each other, man. I don't know what direction we want to go with that, but
doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. But
that's how she found out.
But I think my first real sadness is her taking my high school girlfriend to another school, and then several months later, because it's an unsustainable partner relationship.
Yeah,
we're juniors in high school and we're separate. Of course, it failed.
Did you find yourself with that? Were you devastated? So did your schooling suffer?
Well, my schooling suffered the first time I kissed a girl. I no longer was.
Did you like it? Taste of her cherry chapstick. Sorry,
Katy Perry.
Yeah.
You want to talk about something that makes me sad?
Yeah.
It's not Katy Perry.
Oh.
But it is that song, and that song is largely because all of the sudden, not that women weren't already ornaments at college parties, but this "I Kissed a Girl and I Liked It" that came out when I was in college, and all of a sudden everybody wanted to play it, and who did they want to make out with? The closest lesbian, which on a campus that has 11 of them, I was usually the one. And and that's another thing that really messes with you. Think of the folks. Have people wanted to make out with you?
No, they haven't.
Okay. How does that make you feel?
Sad. Wow, you really turned it around on me, didn't you?
Sadness. Turns out it's universal. Anyway, that song made party favors, and I didn't want to be anybody's party favor in college.
That is totally understandable. That song came out when you were in college.
Yeah, I am younger than you.
Yes, so is half the world. So you were devastated in high school,
but also couldn't. Everybody so here's an interesting thing that happened in high school. I was at that time really mourning my first breakup. None of my friends knew why my girlfriend, or why this person who was such an active partner at school was all of a sudden transferred.
And they didn't know why you were sad?
No.
Did they just think you were sad because your friend left?
Yeah, because we were pretty inseparable.
Yeah.
Every weekend we were at each other's houses. We were, I'd pick her up from school and take her place and like, but the year later in drama class where all sad things happen.
Sad mask.
Sad mask. Half of it sad.
Thank you. Yes.
We were tasked with writing monologues.
Uh-huh.
And a student in my monologue class wrote his monologue about my situation with Natalie. God, I keep saying her name. I don't think she.
It's Natalie Merchant.
It's Natalie Merchant.
Wow.
Yeah.
That whole Tiger
She's
Lily
so
album
kind
is
and
about
generous.
you. Yes. Yeah. Right.
But he wrote a monologue about a hypothesis that he had, that the reason why my girlfriend had gotten transferred was because we were in a secret relationship, and the reason why I was sad was because she was gone.
How did you react to that?
Was pissed.
Yeah.
And also really sad.
And he had no idea. This was like literally his hypothesis?
Yeah.
And he did this in front of the whole class?
He did this in front of the class. Luckily, it was drama class, which meant there were 9 people.
9 sad people. Who all they all went on to make tons of money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all
millionaires.
They're millionaires.
But did he use your name?
He did not use my name, no, but he performed.
Were you Boren?
No, because it was a monologue from his own perspective that you would perform. So, for instance, I did a monologue because there was a lot of sadness.
There's a lot of people that want to just kick this dude's ass.
Yeah. Good.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so he wrote this monologue.
He makes one of them.
And he he also adopted a gay person, not personality, but a gay persona, where he was like, it was his male, like his best dude friend that he was in love with, and he got taken away from him. And I'm sitting there, and I had just done this monologue where I was confronting my aunt for my grandmother had passed away, and in real life.
Okay.
And so I had used this monologue. The monologue that I had written about was when my grandmother passed away, my aunt was on vacation, and she was like, well, we're going to finish up vacation before we come back. Can you wait to bury her? And I remember just being shocked by this because I think about my relationship to my mother, and I'm like, how are you going to have your mom sitting on ice while you're up in Disneyland?
Yeah, that's...
So that was my monologue. So I get done doing this monologue, which is terribly written. Like it's not a good monologue.
But did you feel really strongly about it? And you felt really emotional with it?
I set the scene of me fake drinking coffee at the funeral home.
Fake drinking?
Well, I don't.
Were you doing
coffee.
Some object work?
No, I had a glass of water, and I'm sitting there in this. I've set the table up that it's where you go get the sweets and coffee at a funeral, right? And that's where I'm sitting, and you have somebody in class come in and sit down, and that's who you deliver the monologue to. So I just done that, and I'm back in my seat, and then I'm watching this other classmate do this monologue that was about my situation. Yeah. And what is a very painful time, because her mom loved me. I was tutoring her in math, even though I'm very bad at math. We were in the plays together. I was also a likable person. Like I was a popular person. So she was happy that we were such close friends. Mm-hmm. And then, so not only so having that, all of that just reopened, and also the fear of somebody's going to know my secret. My not so secret.
And oh God, all of that is born. Did you confront him afterwards?
Yes.
You did. What did you say to him?
Well, the thing that
did you kick his ass like everybody wants?
I wish I had.
Oh, okay.
I wish I had. The biggest thing for me was the how did you know?
Okay.
Because so my family just recently found out about my first bout of unrequited love, which was pre this person.
This gal. Okay.
Yeah, but it was my first crush on a girl.
Uh-huh.
And she was the lead in Hello Dolly. And I was Ernestina Money. And I would take her home from school, and I was so convinced that
Wait, sorry, you'd give her a ride?
I'd give her a ride home from school or from rehearsal, and she'd been like dating this other girl in college, or not in college, this other girl in high school who was a year older and who was out and who was proud, and she had like tattoos and she played acoustic guitar and I hated this girl because she was out.
And she was proud.
And she was proud.
Is that what you wanted to be?
Of course, yeah, I absolutely wanted to be out, but I was too much of a coward to be out. It took me a long time to find my own identity. I spent so much in college being really proud that you didn't know I was gay until you knew I was gay. I never wanted to be a 100-footer. I never
What's
wanted
100-footer?
Somebody you know is gay 100 feet away, which I am now.
Yeah.
Very.
What?
But like when you met me.
Actually, I didn't know you were gay.
Right, because I was still performing straight. I was like, yeah, nobody knows until they know.
Yeah.
But with this person who was a year
Phyllis Diller played Hello Dolly. No, maybe? I don't know. No, I'm thinking of Carol Channing. Sorry, go ahead.
But they had a public breakup because this person that was older, the junior when we were both sophomores, like went through her friend group so quickly. And so I thought, well, if Kate, I'm going to call her Kate, knew that I liked her, then she would forget all about Michelle, the older girl.
Yeah,
Michelle.
Michelle's the tatted up one.
And so, the tatted up one who plays acoustic guitar, and every person loves her.
Real quick, was this also Natalie Merchant?
It's all Natalie Merchant.
Yeah, okay. I think that's the moral of the story.
Yeah. And so we're in rehearsal for Hello Dolly over Valentine's Day weekend, and I convinced myself that I'm going to ask Kate out.
Okay.
And so I bring a gas station rose.
Did you stop on the way to rehearsal?
You're damn right I did.
Yeah.
Well, of course, because also I was not out to my parents yet, but I was going to risk all of this for Kate because she was the lead in Hello Dolly and she smoked cigarettes. I thought she was the coolest.
Phyllis Dillis.
What are you yelling about?
Somebody's just writing Phyllis Dillis?
Phyllis Dillis? Biggest dickus? Okay, so you get beautiful natural rose.
And so I wait for break.
At rehearsal. And I ask her if we can have a conversation in my car. And I've strategically placed... In your car? Well, I didn't know where else to have this conversation. Were you guys going to be sitting as close as we are now? Did she sit on the rose? Yes. So, and I had to be like, I'm sorry, that's for you. And she was so confused. And I said, was wondering if you'd like to go out with me. And she said no. And then I asked her if she would not tell anyone. Because not only had I been rejected, but I also wasn't out. And the first person she told was Michelle. And then Michelle told the other girls on the junior softball team, or the varsity softball team. And I got confronted on the softball bus about whether or not I was gay. How long after? Oh, that was the next week, like Monday. So I had she wasted, I can only imagine that she went home and called Michelle. And so I'm on the way home from a softball game and I get on the bus and this other girl comes up and is like, I hear you're a dyke. And of course I was like, just devastated. And the way that I played it off was like, well, Michelle, because she's like, well, Michelle heard that from Kate. I was like, well, they smoke pot. So they clearly don't know what they're talking about. It was the best argument I could come up with. That's pretty good, though.
Okay,
yeah.
So one.
Yeah.
She could have, picked any other word. She used dyke.
Yes.
And two.
I hear you're a
bully.
dyke. Bully. She was a bully. Yeah.
Get out of my house if you're not cool with smoking weed.
No. Totally. No. Listen, we're talking about 16-year-old, not a rule breaker.
Hey, Can I say something too? Just a quick story on that is I was in the marching band, and when I was a senior, I played the tuba.
Yeah,
it was about the same size as me at the time, and a guy who I was friends with, I found out he smoked pot, and we were in parade formation, about to go out to do a parade, like a Christmas Day parade or something. And I walked down the line. I walked in my full marching band uniform with the hat on, and I got in his face and I said, "Is it true?" is it true that you smoke pot? You tell me! And he's like looking at me like, what the fuck, man? And I get it.
Yeah.
I was real upset about that shit.
Yeah.
And I can understand, I would say something like that too.
Well, and I was trying to play off like they must have heard it wrong, or they must be confusing me with somebody else.
Okay. So you're compounded here, so right?
Yeah.
These two things are coming together.
Yeah.
That makes me so sad because I've had situations like that, and I think a lot of people have, where you try to ask somebody out, you try to broach that subject, and they are confused.
Yeah.
And then that's just mortifying.
Yeah.
And it compounds the sadness, and then you say, please don't tell anybody. That breaks my heart to hear that. Because I've never had to live with that. I've never had to say, please don't tell anybody I'm straight.
Right.
That's awful.
Yeah.
And then she just went and told people.
Well, and also...
Did she keep the rose?
Yeah, because I was like, you can take the rose. And what she did for the rest of rehearsal that day, because we had like a long Saturday of rehearsal, is she would take the rose and rub it against her fucking face.
Was she looking at you while doing it?
It was terrible.
Did you cry?
Yes, I cried. I don't believe I drove her home that night.
Well, good.
Yes, so she probably didn't ask. She's probably already figuring out a way to tell Michelle.
Maybe Michelle came and
she
picked
just
her
would
up.
just like sit there. Oh, Dolly never had a rose slapping against her face. Oh, it was terrible. And of course, everybody's like, where'd the rose come from?
And I can't tell you that. Okay,
Everybody
so
knew.
I have to ask you, kind of going back on what we talked about earlier. You mentioned your mom.
Yes.
And you mentioned that great story about your mom following this
yeah,
crazy high-heeled woman, serial mom. Are you close with your mom now?
Yes.
And your parents, they're still married?
Yes, 39 years.
They've been married 39 years.
Yes.
Holy cow.
Yep.
That's amazing. So, how did they meet?
They met in a bar on dates with other people.
Say that again.
They met in a bar on dates with other people.
So your mom was on a date with a guy.
Yep.
Your dad was on a date with a woman.
Uh-huh.
How did they find each other?
My dad winked at my mom.
He winked at your mom?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And my mom winked back. And my dad sent the confirmation wink.
What does that mean? Is that the third wink?
It's a
to
third
be like,
wink.
yes, I got your wink.
Yep, that's where I got the sweet skills that I had in high school.
Yeah. So he'd been to the gas station too.
He'd been to the gas station, probably Cologne.
Yeah. They met.
So they met somebody came in, distracted my mom's date, and so my dad did let's go to the back, because they both worked at the same hospital. My mom in the credit union, and my dad in the.
But they didn't know each other.
They didn't know each other, but they kind of knew of each other. They'd never met. And they ended up making out in the back of this bar. Well, my dad had his date, and my mom had her date. And this was November 30th, 1979. Smooth. And my dad kept saying to my mom, which I now know what this means, I just want to buy you breakfast. Let me take you out for breakfast.
He just wanted to sleep with her.
Yeah, as it turns out. And my mom said, well, you have somebody here. What are you going to do? My dad's like, I'm going to get rid of her. So he goes up to his date and says, I'm so sorry. I feel really sick. So she's like, I'll take you home. And he said, no, I'll get a ride from somebody else. So then he's standing by, so she leaves and he's standing by the exit. Like, I can imagine like chest out, look what I've done. And my mom's date comes up to him. It's like, you need to leave her alone. And the thing that further complicates it is my mom's date was my dad's boss. And so my dad...
Wait a minute. Your mom was on a date with your dad's boss.
Yeah, my dad was an X-ray tech at the...
So then your dad is trying to steal his boss's date.
Yeah, so he tells
to buy her breakfast.
Yeah. Already made out with her.
After he'd made out with her.
Yeah.
He'd already made out with her. And my dad said, fine, you have 1 month to put a ring on her finger. So the next Monday, he ignores her. He ignores my mom for 3 weeks because my mom was a single mom, and she had already
your older sister.
She'd been divorced, and her ex-husband wanted to try again. And so when my dad found out that my mom's first husband was trying to get back in the picture, and his boss wasn't doing anything, my dad asked my mom out. One of their first couple of dates was he took her to Christmas Eve dinner at my grandparents' house. He proposed to her on New Year's Eve. They met on November 30th. They met on November 30th. They were married February 14th.
They're married on Valentine's Day.
On Valentine's Day, courthouse wedding with a small reception. So less than 3 months.
They're still married.
They're still married. They married on lust. My mom and dad will both be the first to share that. Part of it was like, my dad was also afraid that if he didn't act then, he would lose my mom. Because she had, not only was this her first husband who was trying to come back, but it was the father of my older sister.
Yeah.
And so the stakes were really high. And there was a lot of lust.
And so they fell in.
They fell in deep.
Deep. And how has that progressed over the years?
I would say in like any long-term partnership, I've been fortunate, and I will say the word fortunate really specifically, to watch my parents fall in and out of love.
What do you mean by that?
It's given me a realistic view of what partnership is, what long-term partnership is.
Okay.
And it is hard, and it requires work, and it requires thoughtful work. I'm in my 30s now, and I think about my partnership, and I love Erin, and our lives complement each other so well. But I also know that she's going to be there for the hard stuff, because I'm looking at the hard stuff. I'm looking at the last third or quarter of my parents' life, and I'm gonna
How old are they now?
63 and 65. So, and they're in healthy condition. According to my mom, her doctor said that she has a 35-year-old heart, which my dad says bullshit. But I was like, Dad, if mom's heart is 35, what is yours? It's like probably 95. My dad's the younger of the two.
He's the younger one.
Yeah.
Oh.
But with her 35-year-old heart, she's a little insufferable.
She's a little insufferable for him?
Yeah, of course. She's like, well, Jeffrey, my heart is only 35.
Oh.
I mean, it sounds really cute when you say it like that.
It is cute, and that means that her heart wasn't born when they fell in love.
No, it wasn't.
So they've fallen in and out of love. Does that mean that they fight?
Yes.
Tell me about that.
I would say my parents are both Scorpios.
That's October.
Yeah, the end of October, November.
Oh, my sister's a Scorpio.
They're fire signs.
Yeah. Okay.
So you can suspect how one of the ways that I would often preface or prepare a partner when they would come over to meet my family for the first time is, listen, we laugh loud, we love loud, and we fight loud.
Yeah, that's true, I think. Yeah, for sure.
And my parents are no exception. They fight loud.
Yelling.
Yeah.
My parents yelled a lot. And did you ever say to them, like, if you guys, something to the effect of, if you guys fight so much, then why are you together?
Of course. In high school, I remember a particularly big fight when I was a senior in high school, about to go to college. And they were having a really nasty argument. And I think there's a lot of, well, why are we doing this anymore? Why should we even be together?
They're saying
that in different phrases, some not so eloquent or nice. And I remember sitting on the stairs and saying, well, if you're going to divorce, just do it already. Because I'm going to college and I'd like to get better financial aid. And then my younger sister was like, how dare you, Lauren? And I was like... And
so you were trying to be funny.
I was trying to be funny.
Deal with the pain and the sadness with humor, right?
Yes. Yeah. Well, at that time, certainly.
Yeah.
Certainly.
So you what, 17, 18 when this was going on?
They did not get it. Yes.
You were just numb to it by that point.
And I was so numb to it, and I also had adopted their conflict styles and their lack of conflict. And so what I sometimes see is a lack of conflict resolution. They've gotten better about that in their old age. But when I graduated college, and parts in college, but when I got to Chicago, I realized that I was somebody who was emotionally abusive. Verbally abusive to my partners.
Your partners.
Yeah, okay. Because I thought it would be okay if you yell and scream.
I used to be very much the same way. And
I remember one of my first relationships in when I got to Chicago, we had this awful argument, and I sat in the car and cried, and this wasn't leading into sadness, this was just being sad, and I was so sad at the way that I talked to somebody that I loved.
You feel a lot of guilt.
Yeah. And so I've started to find that sadness is a catalyst.
What do you mean?
Like sadness drove that sadness in myself, like for this partner who I was hurting, that drove me to therapy, to really always ask the question, what am I trying to achieve? So if I go back to, remember we were talking earlier about in college, like angry thumbs.
Yeah.
What I was trying to achieve was to hurt somebody.
Because you had been hurt.
Yes, and I don't have a right to hurt anybody else.
But you felt in that moment, because you were emotional.
Yeah.
Of course I have the right to do this.
Absolutely.
You did this to me.
Yeah, and it took 2.5 years of therapy once a week, every week, to know that like I'm allowed to feel pain. And I'm allowed to hold somebody accountable if they've hurt me. But I can't respond to hurt with hurt.
Sure.
And
you think you learned that from your parents?
Responding with hurt with hurt?
Yeah.
Yes. And also because my first big breakups were so secretive that I didn't really process how to handle how to go through a breakup healthy. And so I think about that a lot now with generation today.
Yes.
And we think about school shootings. And we think about I think about all of the emotions I felt in high school. And now I imagine if I was also dealing with the internet at that time.
Oh, I can't imagine.
And
Signs suck.
Who sucks?
Signs. Yeah, astrological signs.
Oh, astrological signs. I got you.
Yeah, no.
I'm a Taurus. What are you?
I'm a Sagittarius.
Yeah. Okay. So, yes, the internet is just...
Yeah. But I think a lot about, with the work that I do with storytelling, around, well, how can we help generations now with healthy conflict resolution? And
with storytelling, and often are these stories about conflicts in somebody's life?
Every good story has
gotta have conflict. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So I have now, through care, like trying to really figure out like how to have healthy conflict resolution, and to always be thinking, what am I trying to achieve?
Are you able to still think that even when you're like emotional? Yes.
One, I'm lucky that I have a partner who, if I'm really sad or really angry, and even if I try to have a good old fashioned fight with her.
Yeah.
And she refuses to give in. She just refuses.
Isn't that fucking maddening?
Well, yeah, because she'll say, I don't want to fight with you. And it's really hard? Having a fight with somebody who doesn't want to have a fight with you. It takes out all of the pleasure of a good old-fashioned fight.
My sister and I talk about this all the time, and I grew up in a very similar type of situation.
Yeah.
My parents are still going strong.
Yeah.
No, they're not. But, I mean, they're, of course, both still alive. But they got divorced when I was 8.
Yeah.
And...
it's like, they're not going...
No.
What does that mean?
No. But if I'm with a partner in a relationship, I want to fight, and when I get mad, and if they're like, I can't do this, and they have every right to get away from it, and Kelly and I, my sister, who will be on in a few weeks, we are like, why won't you just fucking fight with me?
Yeah,
because that's what I want, and when people say I'm not going to fight with you, it's just even more mad.
Yeah. I'm going back to country music, which is so sad that we were talking about the Pistol Annie song earlier this week. You and I were.
No, which song is it?
It's called "Best Years of My Life."
Yeah.
But there's that's a great song. But the last song, called "This Too Shall Pass," and it starts with like, if you think if you're doing something right, then it's only because I want a good old fashioned fight. Like, and it's all about like this too shall pass, and like, yes, we're right, but we're right for each other. But the thing that I want right now is just to fight with you.
Yeah. And
with Erin, I try to fight with her so much, and she'll be like, "Have you had any water today?" And you want to know what sucks is when you're like, "No, I haven't had any water."
Yeah.
Because often
she does not engage.
No.
Well, now I'm a little mad.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the other thing is, her father passed away at a young age. So she'll sometimes talk about she didn't watch her parents fight because her father passed away when she was 5. I grew up watching my parents fight.
Yep.
I grew up watching my parents fall in love.
Sorry, did you see an exhaustion on your parents a lot?
Of course. They had 3 kids that were so young and close to each other's age.
Well, that loss.
Yeah.
There you go. But, I mean, like, after they would fight, would they come to you?
Not then. Certainly now.
And now, as they're older, And you said, you were talking about Erin, you and Erin, she'll be there for the hard times. One of the things you mentioned was when your parents get older and pass away. Do you think a lot about that?
I do. I think about, I get bouts of existential dread.
About their death?
Yes.
And
which I mean, that's rooted in our healthcare system.
Yeah.
It's rooted in, I work in nonprofit. We are growing up in a generation, like, have you had a friend do a GoFundMe because of an unexpected medical tragedy?
I know people.
Yeah.
Nobody who's been a close friend of mine, but yes, of course.
Yeah. I think about that oftentimes with my parents around, like, if something serious were to happen to them, how am I going to be able to support them? In the way that my mama lived with my parents at the end of her life. And like that was what you do.
You take care of your family, yeah.
And over the holidays, my dad and I had a fight about It's a Wonderful Life.
Really?
Yeah. Which is I love that movie. And Erin and I took my parents to the double feature at the Music Box of White Christmas and It's a Wonderful Life. And we're watching It's a Wonderful Life. And I think so much of the movie still holds up.
Sure.
No man is a failure who has friends.
Uh-huh.
But he's seeing Clarence, right? And it's the end of the movie, and he's running around, and and we've found out that his brother died, and because his brother died, all of the men in World War II died. His mom is devastated and sad, and she runs a boarding house.
Yep.
The man who owned the bar is...
He's an angry...
Yeah, and Mr. Gower is a drunk because he poisoned a kid. And he's like, tell me about Mary. Tell me about Mary. And Clarence is like, you're not going to like this, George. And he's like, what? She's a maid. Yeah. And everybody bursts out laughing in the theater, including myself, because Mary is a librarian and she has glasses. And this is the worst possible thing that we could think to have happened to Mary Hatchet, right?
Yeah.
And so we laugh. And that is something that my dad takes so much offense to. Why, you've never laughed before. You never laughed before. And the way that I tried to equate it was like, Dad, when we discovered electricity, were people expected to still be in the dark?
Mm-hmm.
But he wouldn't let it go. And he kept bringing it up.
Did he fight with you like he fights with your mom?
No. Because they like to one-up each other.
Oh, okay.
They like to really go at it. And we just had this really terrible argument of trying to really see each other's side, and me trying to say, like, Dad, like, through a 2019 lens, this feels really dated, that the worst thing that happened to Mary is she has glasses. I also don't believe that there's a library in Pottersville. Like, that feel right.
That's the biggest tragedy of them all.
Yeah. It's not tragic that there's still a library. It's just surprising.
Well, I'm saying if there wasn't a library.
Oh, yes, that would be.
Tragic.
So,
yes.
That's silver lining. They still have a library.
Yeah.
And so then the next day it's Christmas, and we're watching family videos, and they're playing videos of my first Christmas. And I was born around the holidays. I was born December 4th. And, my parents were 30 and 33, or 30 and 32 when they had me. And I was just so sad watching them and how young they look. And how full of hope they are. And so then I went home and I thought, why are you fighting over something so silly with people that you don't have enough time with? And then, my partner, God, I picked her up from the airport that morning. So she was, this was after Christmas, 2 days later. And I just sat in the living room and cried. And I called them both. And I said, I'm so sorry that I let my need to be right cloud what's really important. And I'm so sorry that I sometimes am the PC police, which there are certain things that are non-negotiables for me, but I could be a little more kind to my parents. And I don't know how many Christmases I have left with them. And so that was something I was just overwhelmed watching these videos. And, my mom, she pulls out this little red box. And it's from Saks Fifth Avenue. And my parents didn't have any money.
Mm-hmm.
But she's just so proud.
This is in the video.
In the video, yeah, with me crawling around. And yeah, you just... There's a great song, and I could not remember, but it's nights feel long, but life is fast. And
Time.
Yeah. No, yeah.
And you just... was there a nostalgia in that too?
Oh my gosh, of course.
And...
Well, you look at... You watch a video next to your parents who... The 32 years have elapsed since that. And their life looks really different. And they get to look back at the life they've made, but they know that their time is limited. You know, and then looking at young versions of my mom and dad. And now then there are times where I'm like, was it worth it? No, it's okay. Don't touch me again.
I won't. Do you, when you called them and apologized, did you tell them that you have this existential dread about losing them?
Of course.
And what was their response?
Oh, you know, I have a fairly morbid family.
Yeah.
Like,
yes.
Yeah. So my younger sister has taken, because she knows my parents, you know, not that we're burying them already, but she has gone around and written her name under items in the house that she wants to have.
Yeah.
She'll go as far as to write to Amy from mom and dad on things that like we don't think would go to her, but she's already claimed them.
Kelly and I do that.
Yeah.
Type of thing.
Right. Like, oh, I get this. And they know this. They know that they're not going to be around much longer. I mean, so much that with past partnerships, they're like, Lauren, you know, this is the person that you're going to be spending your life with. It's not us. If past partnerships haven't gotten along with my family, and I have the family that you marry the person, you marry the family. I
think it's very true. Knowing the little bit I do of your family.
Yeah.
So, and what was their reaction when you said that to them?
Oh, they I think they were. My parents are always thankful when I recognize that I'm being a know-it-all. Mm. And this goes back to healthy conflict resolution. They had already moved on. And I believe that an apology is an acknowledgement of what I did wrong and a recognition that I'll work to do better next time. I think in many families, and mine is no exception, an apology is an opportunity to move on.
Are you able to do that when you apologize for something? Are you able to say, okay, I made a mistake, I've apologized, I'll move on, or do you linger on it?
Oh, an unhealthy mix of both.
Yeah. I struggle with that a lot. I struggle with the fact that I make mistakes, and that sounds really cliche, but it's like I feel like I shouldn't do anything wrong. And then when I do make a mistake because I'm a human being, I then apologize, and then I still sit with it. And that's not fair to the other person either, because you're taking their agency away from them.
Right.
I think. You know, if I may, about your parents getting older, when my grandma was dying in the hospital, she was intubated, and she couldn't, because she had emphysema. She couldn't breathe, and she had a tube, so she couldn't speak. And when I came in to see her, I brought her a Cubs hat, because she taught me all about baseball and Cubs, and we watched the Cubs together all the time. And she was kind of, you could tell she was happy. But her and my grandfather married 59 years and fought, just snipping at each other all the fucking time. I remember one night my grandfather was hard of hearing, and the whole family was there. This is before she was in the hospital. And Kelly, my sister, and I slept on cots in their bedroom. And I was shifting a lot on the cot, and it made a creaky noise. And my grandfather kept going, "What is that noise?" Because he couldn't hear, but he could hear that. And my grandma was like, "It's the kids on the cots. It's the kid." And he goes, "I don't know what you're saying." And she said, "Go to hell." And then I didn't move for the rest of the night. And but when my grandfather would come into the hospital room, her heart rate would go up, and her hand would go like this, and he would take her hand. And I think about what you said about your parents, about all the sadness that they've had and all that, but they have that connection, and
of course,
and they're never gonna leave each other.
Yeah,
you know?
No, I mean, my parents have buried children. They've buried both of their parents together.
But children.
My mom had 9 pregnancies and she has 4 kids. So they wanted to have kids shortly after they got married. They, Angela was 5. They didn't have me until I was 11, or till Angela was 11.
6 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So they went through a lot of hardship that I think defined a lot of their marriage. But I had to officiate. I have not had to. I was asked to officiate my brother's wedding. This October 2017. I should know when they were born. I married October 2017. And the thing that I talked about was like the wedding. Like, this is not, you're signing up for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of boring Wednesdays.
Or boring Thursdays.
Or boring Thursdays or boring weeks. Like, It's not the honeymoon. It's the 18th vacation when you're stuck in line with screaming kids who have to go to the bathroom, but you're close to being to the front of the roller coaster, right? It is the burying your parents. It is the, how are we going to pay for this? It's like, obviously it's coupled with a lot of light and a lot of love, but man, there's so much darkness.
Did you talk about this at the ceremony?
Yeah, and it turns out it was still a hit. Of
course it was a hit. That's real talk, right?
Well, because when you think about like what the soundtrack of a life is, a lot of tears.
It's a lot of sad. It's a lot of time winning. Because time always wins. I have to ask over there, what do we got coming in? Anything at all?
Yeah. I mean, ask them, look at the camera and talk to them. Huh?
What do you guys got? I unfortunately can't see it. But obviously Lauren is she's told us a lot of, pretty dark shit. And pretty honest stuff. And now it's raining, right? Just like the beginning. And I appreciate it because that's not easy stuff to talk about. And I'm so happy that you took that sadness as a motivator, or it wasn't motivator. What was the word you used? Catalyst. And I remember when you did go through therapy. I'm still in it. I've been going for 29 years. I'll figure it out one of these days. Yeah. But does this sound like anything? I mean, I figure that everybody heard their parents fight. Everybody's going to lose their parents. Yeah.
Yeah, these are things that make... Yeah, it's exactly. That's what I was going to say. This is not something that makes me...
If you had a measure, and I think it's a good question for both of you, what has been harder? Becoming an adult, like a true adult, or actually being an adult?
Being an adult?
Like, we all go through kind of our path. And I think those stories are they can be different, but can be very the same. Yeah. But which one's been harder?
Oh, man. I think I can make the argument for both, but I think being an adult is probably, in the end, harder because it's about accepting who you are with your flaws and trying to do better. Whereas, at least for me, when I was, quote, becoming an adult, we'll say college, I had a safety net, an emotional safety net, and I always had time ahead of me. Yeah. And I don't feel that as much, even though I'm still young. I think about that a lot, how I feel like I don't have the possibility I did then. So I think it's harder for me because time is being taken away. What about you?
So it's very much reverse for me. I think my path to becoming an adult was largely, it was delayed. It was mid-20s to almost 30s. It was a whole long time of becoming an adult and figuring out how to have healthy conflict resolution, how to be okay with my own identity, how to be okay with the way that I exist in the world. And it's very sad to walk around.
So you would say you were a kid till you were 30?
That's yeah. Well, the way I would fight, certainly. I will sometimes joke about, when we have to pay bills and rent and what am I going to cook for dinner? Oh gosh, being an adult is so hard.
Oh, this term adulting, which I don't really like.
Yeah.
Yeah. just being a person.
But the path to becoming who I am today is was much harder than existing as who I am today.
Yeah, that's well said. And there's probably a lot more confidence and a lot more self-awareness now than when you were coming into what you are. And you'll probably say the same thing 10 years from now.
Sure. Oh, yes.
My thing, what I love about life is every time I think I was like, okay, got it, figured it out, good spot, life just fucking says, you don't know shit.
It's true.
And then it just beats you the fuck down. Every time. Sorry about that. What else we got? Anything else over there?
No, I think we're about ready to pass it back to the T-Bic.
Yeah.
Thanks for everybody for coming out, for sure.
Yeah. Lauren, thanks for coming out and talking.
Thank you for having me.
And let's not be this close to each other again.
I hope not.
Okay, great.